What's your journey to public health look like? How did you arrive at, hey, this is an area for me. This is something that I want to explore. How did you get there?
It's funny, this question comes up so many times. I fumbled into public health by accident. I wanted to be a doctor when I went to school, and nothing against doctors or doing medicine, but I think one thing I discovered in Michigan helped me grow a lot. I realized I was asking myself, like, "Why do I wanna be a doctor?" And I realized I wasn't really living my story, I was living my parents' story. When you come from a Caribbean family, you either have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or some type of businessman. And I realized I didn't really have a passion for being in medicine at all. I was more so trying to make my
Mhm.
parents proud. And I think so many kids come to that conclusion where when I'm talking with them, they're like, "Oh, I don't really care for this, but I feel like if I don't get this, they won't feel proud of me." And I had to have that moment where I was like, I had to unlearn that and say, "Okay, Brian, what do you enjoy doing?" And it required a lot of failure and discovery and trying out a couple of things. I had landed at the time in microbiology, and I was like, "Oh, I'll be like a lab tech." I had a cool internship, and I was like wanting to do that. And um, I was in one of my microbiology labs, and I've always been a social butterfly in many ways. I
Yeah.
remember she just started teaching that lab class, and she noticed me talking to everyone in the lab, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Brian, what are you trying to do next?" And I was like, "I think I want to be a lab tech or something like that, and maybe I'll do a PhD in microbiology. I don't know." And then she literally pulled me aside. She's like, "Do not take this the wrong way, but I feel like you have a superpower that could transcend so many other things. Have you ever considered public
Mm.
health?" And I was like, "What's public health?" I remember asking that question in my junior year, "What is public health?" And she was like, "Well, as a microbiology, you could take an epidemiology class, which is in line with the public health thought process. It's part of your curriculum, so it won't take you too far out of the scope." I took that class, Dr. Michael Rick was teaching it, and I ended up falling in love with public health. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't even know this field existed." I just kept on going and took that to doing my MPH at Michigan State, and then got really involved with public health during the time before I started my doctorate. Got to work in the Michigan Public Health Association where I learned more about APHA. And even to this day, I'm on the board of APHA. That one story and Dr. Rennell Brew, I remember when she came to our class and was like, "Hey, this is what APHA is, and this is how you can get involved." And how that one conversation took me all the way to being on the board of the American Public Health Association. I got to work on the Flint water crisis. I got to work on aspects of gun violence, both in Detroit and Flint. I got to work in so many pieces, and I just got excited about it and just kept on going further, which took me to my doctorate in public health, getting a terminal degree. And I got a DRPH intentionally because I didn't want to just focus on researching a problem and trying to discover new knowledge. I think we have a lot of knowledge out there. What we don't have is the courage to actually change the systems to making life better for people where they live, work, and play. And so I got that DRPH to be more practice oriented, taking all that research and really translating, thinking about negotiation, thinking about how we frame, thinking about persuasion and econometrics, thinking outside the box on a lot of things. And so that's how I got into public health, still doing it now, the head of public health for a large health plan. And the public health movement has changed so much. And I always like to remind everyone that's listening, you are part of public health. You just may not know it yet. You don't have to have an MPH. You don't have to have a DRPH. You don't have to have a PhD. We all have a social responsibility to make the world a better place with whatever skill sets, whatever industry that we're in. And that's how I always say we have to build the tent of public health and making everyone realize that they're part of that journey.
I love that you are a part of public health. You just didn't know it yet. And that's one of the things I really saw just the transformative powers of storytelling, but then also a lot of what you were sharing, particularly just thinking back in the days of working with the Future Public Health Leaders Program, is you are a part of public health. You just don't know it yet. And then as the students were exposed to leaders like yourself and others who are working in the field, is oh yes, all of these things that are all around us that impact our daily lives. This is public health, and just how that connected so many dots and like it was a light bulb for so many students. It was so important. Thank you for sharing your story. Also, I appreciated you just naming and realizing, oh, there was a point in time where I realized I wasn't really living my dream. I was living somebody else's. One, I really appreciate you sharing it because I think it's important because there might be some other folks who are listening to this now who may be in that, maybe trying to figure that out of, am I going down a path that I would really choose for myself, or am I going down a path that others have chosen for me for a variety of different reasons? Or am I going down a path that is actually resonating with how I feel like I can bring my gifts to the world? And so I appreciate you naming that as well. For the folks who are listening, I hope you caught that.